What's up? It's your boy Kay, and I'm here with Isaac. Say hi to the people, Isaac.
Hello to the people.
We are back with our Sports and Goal podcast number 4.
Number 4.
We got some topics to talk about today.
Yes.
But first, you already know how we start this thing. Go ahead, Isaac.
We've got a Hoosier Game Day lager from our friends at Upland Brewery, obviously down in Bloomington, Indiana. I just liked it because of the can. I could go for football or for basketball. Either one. Basketball's already started up. I think they got a good team this year. We'll be talking about that probably in the next couple weeks coming up. So let's try it out.
All
Cheers
right.
to you.
Cheers to you.
Typical lager.
I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Classically
bad.
smooth and refreshing beer. There you go. I bought it at Kroger, so go support your local Kroger.
Yeah, I could definitely sip on this.
Well, you are. That's good.
It's better than the last beer we had for sure. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the game picks from last week.
Yes. Lots of great games that are on the list. I'll start us off with NCAA football. We had a big matchup between number 3 Texas and number 20 Texas A&M. As we predicted, Texas won 17-7.
Yeah.
Decent game. Did you watch any of that?
I didn't, no.
Well.
I
Great.
did watch the next one, though.
As did I. We had Michigan at number 2 Ohio State. And can you believe it? Michigan. If you put some money on that, you probably won some serious money. We should have done that. Put like $5 on you. Would have got something good.
Well,
Michigan won 13-10. And we both lost that one.
We both had Ohio State. How did you lose? How?
We'll talk about that later.
We
It's
will.
in the topics. And then last game for NCAA, number 24 Kansas State at number 18 Iowa State. You had Kansas State. I had Iowa State. And Iowa State won 29-21, so I got that one.
Yeah, I was going for the underdog, and they let me down. Let's get into the NBA, okay? NBA Cup games. So we had the Pistons, who are 8-11, going up against the Pacers, who are 8-10, and we're
Just
supposed
give
to beat the Pistons. We're supposed to beat them, but we both picked the Pacers to win, and they lost 130-106, 24-point dub by the Pistons.
At home. It's terrible.
Our second game was the 13-4 Thunder going up against the 10-7 Lakers. We both had the Thunder to win, and obviously they handled their business, 101-93.
Still playing well. Still playing good basketball.
And then finally, we had the Kings, 8-10, going up against the Trailblazers, who were 7-11. Pretty close matchup here. I had the Trailblazers taking the dub. Isaac here had the Kings. And the Trailblazers won 115-106. I knew they'd pull it out, them young guns.
I'm sure you did. NFL Thanksgiving, we had several games. We mentioned one of them, Dolphins at Packers, and as we predicted, the Packers didn't win that game, 30-17. We both got that one right.
Yeah.
The Friday 3 p.m. game, again a weird one, a lot closer than we expected. I said in the last video they were going to win by 20. The Chiefs only won by 2 against the Raiders, so we both got it right.
Yeah.
But
19-17
that's a weird score and a weird game.
The Raiders are one of the worst teams in the league right now. And
They are.
every Chiefs game is like 2-3 point game. What the hell?
I know. That's why I'm saying I don't think they're going to be, I don't want to say it because once they get into playoffs, then they spark for whatever reason.
Oh, God.
And then the last game, which was a great game, actually.
Yes,
Eagles at the Ravens. We both picked the Eagles, and we got it right. Eagles won 24-19. So, here is the updated records. I'm over 500, so I'm happy. I am now 14-13. Okay, you are 16-11.
Yeah.
You continue to win more than I do. So, whatever. Good job, I guess.
All right, let's get into the first topic. Obviously, I think in the NFL world, this was, besides that Eagles-Ravens game, this was the topic everyone was talking about.
For sure.
The Bears took on the Lions, and I do want to add that game was a lot closer than it should have been.
A lot closer.
Bears had the ball down 3 with 2 minutes to go. So let me walk you through the sequence of what happens on that final drive. The Bears get the ball 2 minutes on the clock. First play, Bears take a sack. Okay? Clock's running. 30 seconds later, Caleb Williams scrambles for 6 yards. I just want to note this already, right now. This is the only positive yards play that they have on the entire drive. Okay? After that, 1 minute and 8 seconds are left. There's a Lions player that got hurt on the last play, so the clock didn't continue running. But it's an incomplete pass. At 1:04, the Bears get a penalty for running a pick play with their tight end. So they go back some more.
I've seen, not to interrupt, but I've actually seen a lot of teams getting called for pick plays now, more than I did the past several seasons. So they're starting to look for it. So they need to either disguise it better or just run better routes to where you're not having to pick play on those.
So after the pick play, it's now 4th and 14. Caleb Williams launches it down the field, and the Lions get a pass interference call. So that's an automatic first down, and it puts them in their own side of the field already. Just with that one penalty call.
Yep.
I mean, that's where all their yards came from. So after the pass interference call, there's 46 seconds left. You get another incomplete pass. The ball is on the 25. The Bears get to the line of scrimmage and take forever to hike the ball. The Bears end up calling their second timeout to avoid getting a delay of game penalty.
That's so ridiculous.
Next up, you have a 13-yard complete pass to Keenan Allen. Okay, he goes for the first down. It gets called back from an offensive lineman having a hands to the face penalty, and it was a pretty obvious one. The player's helmet flew off and everything. But they get pushed back some more. So now we got 2nd and 20. The ball is on the 35-yard line on their side. They're still in field goal range.
Right. Down by 3.
36 seconds is left on the clock. Now here's where the insanity ensues. 36 seconds, Caleb Williams drops back to pass, and he gets sacked for a 6-yard loss. The ball is now on the 41-yard line. Williams calls back the players. They hustle to the line. They still have a timeout left. But 36 seconds from when he gets sacked all the way until they get to the line for them to hike it, there is 6 seconds left. He hikes the ball with 6 seconds left. Incomplete pass to the 5-yard line. Game over. Bears still have a timeout. They wasted 30 seconds getting back to the line to get that last play in. And then the final part of this big old puzzle is Eberflus hits the press afterwards. He says he likes what they did, and he thinks that him and his team handled it the right way. The next morning he gets fired. The next morning he gets fired, and now we have Thomas Brown, who was their offensive coordinator, as their new head coach. Eberflus finished with the Bears after 3 years with the 14-32 record. I mean,
how do you say with a straight face that you handled the end of that game well?
I have no clue.
I mean, did he think that was going to help his job by saying that? Because I think that's probably what cost him his job. If he honestly believes that he handled that ball, the end of that game really well, and he's willing to say that in front of the entire world, I don't know if teams should ever hire him again, to be honest with you. And I hate to say that, but that might seem extreme, but when you've got a timeout left, you're in field goal range. Now, it'd be a long field goal because they messed around and they kept going backwards instead of forwards. But you still gave yourself a chance to at least kick it into overtime.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I don't either, man. He becomes the first head coach for the Chicago Bears to get fired in season.
Yep.
So I do want to note, I watched the Steelers-Bengals game, which, that's not a topic we have today, but it was a fantastic game. The Steelers looked beautiful. But right before, I know I had to wear the jersey. I'm repping the pride today. But right before halftime, the Steelers were marching down the field with clock running out, and they were kind of in the same circumstance that the Bears were in at the end of the game, where I believe it was a completed pass to get them into field goal range, and Russell Wilson starts hurrying everyone to the line, and I think it reached like 8, maybe 7 seconds, and they still were just now getting ready. It was kind of the same opportunity where he could have hiked it before the time expired, but Mike Tomlin called the timeout, ran out the field goal unit, took the 3 points. And so I'm just saying, like, Eberflus, definitely that is not how you should have handled it. Even, I mean, at the 41-yard line, you have to give your kicker a chance. It's 59 yards. It's not like it's setting an NFL record or anything of a kick. If he would have marched him out there, kicked the ball, they could have potentially tied it up. Now, if you lose off missing a long field goal like that, that's one way.
Different.
You know, but launching it to the end zone, I mean, to get a touchdown to win, sure, if that's your aggressive mentality, fine, so be it. But you have to use that last time out. I mean, you have to. Even if you want to talk it over to be able to get a Hail Mary call in or something, you have to use it.
Yep.
So, big L by the Bears. I feel sorry for Bears fans. I know they're so passionate. They love their team.
The worst part is the beginning of the season. They were just like... We've talked about the Cowboys are kind of the same way. They were a team that were talked about to make a good run this year. They thought they had a pretty solid team, good offense. Their defense is okay. And it is not panning out. It just isn't. And, you know, you can blame coaching completely. There's probably a lot of factors that lead into it, but it's another disappointing year for the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, after just watching that game, I haven't watched too many Bears games, to be honest with you. I believe in that game, though, Caleb Williams passed a record. It was like most consecutive passes thrown without an interception for a rookie. And so he's doing all right. Who cares? But the offensive line, and in my opinion, after watching that game, is just horrible. I mean, every single play, the line's collapsing. He has to step into the pocket, and typically they're having pressure come up from the middle, too, and it's a sack.
Well,
it's taking a lot of sacks.
Then. I mean, they know what they need to work on.
Yep,
so
invest
on
in the line.
Invest in that line. Get some good draft picks. You're going to need something because...
It's not working.
It's not working. Not working at all.
All right, so our next topic in the NFL. Now, I didn't watch this game, but I think everyone saw the hit.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence gets knocked out. I mean, knocked out like Red and Friday. Just cleaned by Azeez Al-Shaair, who's a captain on the Texans defense. So, yeah.
Now, I showed you that, I don't know. I'm sure you saw it. I watched it again about 4 times before we started this podcast just to watch the sequence. And I have no sympathy for Azeez, and I'll be honest with you, because he was going down. You could see he was going down. Now, there's obviously a few people that disagree with this call because, as we can see, Al-Shaair was suspended for 3 games. I don't know what's typical. That does seem like a bit much because I don't know if I've ever heard of somebody with a late hit like that getting suspended for 3 games. I don't know if I've ever heard that before. We may have to do some research on that. Make a comment if you have. But so the Texas general manager, Nick Caserio, he said, I probably speak for a lot of teams, not only Houston, Texas, but I think that all teams ask for consistency from the league. And I'd say in this situation, quite frankly, there's no consistency at all relative to the level of discipline that's been handed out. So he clearly, I mean, he knows probably more than we do, as he's seen past suspensions, that this might be a little extensive.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the play. Now, just to play devil's advocate here, right? Because, listen, I agree with, I mean, I don't know about the extent of him being punished. Definitely within that game, getting kicked out of the game.
Yeah.
Definitely labeling it almost as kind of a targeting play. That's pretty consistent with quarterbacks that are sliding, getting hit. Now, the 3-game suspension, I'm not sure what the penalty entails and if that was justified. I will say, though, you know, just playing devil's advocate, there has been a clip of Patrick Mahomes going around since this hit happened where he's running the ball, he's trying to get to a first down, and he kind of like leans down like he's going to slide, but instead of sliding, he actually just blows right by the defender who was probably easing up because he figured he was going to slide.
Sure.
I mean, at what point are you going to hold the quarterback liable? You know, if you're going to slide, you have to slide. You know, maybe I wouldn't like this because you have quarterbacks out there like Josh Allen, like Lamar Jackson, a lot of scrambling quarterbacks who can continue to pick up more yards after the contact comes. But, you know, maybe there should be a rule. If you're going to hold the defense liable for easing off of a quarterback that's about to go down, maybe you have some restraint with the offense as far as a quarterback, like, hey, before contact, you have to go down, you know, to prevent them from getting hit. Now, I don't want to see that, but it's not fair for the defense. It's just not. I mean, and there was also this whole thing going around whenever these rules first started getting implemented, like, is there any possibility that a defender can get hurt from trying to ease up, you know, distorting their body in a different type of way?
Yeah.
And so it's really hard. And on that play, Trevor Lawrence was going for a first down. You know, he started to slide. It looked like just past the first down, so he was really trying to wait until the last second to do it. And the team captain of the Texans defense, the dude who's all about hard hits, Al Shair, you know, that's what he's known for. He's going to try and put a hit on you if you're out there trying to take a hit. Last second, he decides to slide, and Aziz decided to still continue to finish it. So it's a hard play.
I would be 100% in support of a rule that you cannot fake slide. So if you're talking about a Patrick Mahomes situation to where he's going to act like he's going down but he stays up, like you have to call the ball dead once you start to see that it looks like a quarterback's going to slide, regardless if he does or not. You gotta. It's almost like a fair catch. You can't fair catch it and then grab it and run, or fake that. Let's make a rule to make it fair on both sides. I agree.
Yeah.
I know and the hard part is when you're in the moment, you're trying to lay a hit, and I get that. It just looked like this to me, like he was on his way down when he did go in aggressive, and it was a hard hit. I mean, it was a tough hit.
It was a forearm to the head. I mean, that's pretty brutal. And then his head whiplashing off the turf in the back. So it's tough.
Now, DeMeco Ryans, I wouldn't say he all out blamed Lawrence, but it sure kind of leaned that way.
It did, yeah. He has DeMeco Ryans was a linebacker when he was in the league. So go ahead and tell them what they said.
Okay, so here's what he said. He said, "We stand behind Aziz and everything that came from that. Of course, the unfortunate hit on a quarterback, but it's twofold. A lot of the quarterbacks in this day and age, they try to take advantage, which we just talked about, of the rule where they slide late and they try to get an extra yard. Now, you're a defender, and a lot of onus is on the defender, whether it's on the sideline or it's on the quarterback. You don't know what a guy is thinking. You don't know if a guy's staying up and he's continuing to run. You just don't know. And you get a late slide and you hit the guy. Unfortunate that Trevor got hurt. We hope Trevor's okay. But also, if we're sliding, you have to get down."
Yeah.
I think it's fair. I think that's a fair statement.
Absolutely. And like I said, DeMeco Ryans is coming from the perspective of a defender who's trying to figure out how to stop a quarterback from scrambling.
Yeah.
And it's hard to identify whether they're going to go down or not when all of these players are running 15, a quarterback's probably running 15 miles per hour straight towards you, straight towards wherever. They have to at least, if you're not going to throw in the, penalty towards fake sliding or something like that, like make it to where they have to leave 4 or 5 yards of a gap when they start to slide. If you start getting within that 5-yard range and you're trying to slide last second, make it okay for them to get hit like that. Instead, don't slide. Put a shoulder down like a running back would do and try to just take the contact. I mean, that's the old days football right there. There was no sliding. If you slid, you'd still get hit. So why not this is one thing I always said when I was in football, right? You're either the one laying the hit or you're the one getting hit. And that's how it worked at the high school level when I played. There's not sliding at the high school level. A quarterback would lower their shoulder. They would try to run through you. It doesn't matter. But I understand it's different in the NFL. These dudes getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars. They're leading their team. If you lose the quarterback, you're losing the season. That's how football works in the NFL.
Sure.
But still, we have to stop catering the game to offense. Defense matters too.
Yeah.
And so that's where I stand with it.
Do we have any idea if Lawrence is going to play next week?
Well, he's not playing next week. He was in injury protocol. Now, I did a little research after this hit happened, just looking at it, and if I remember correctly, the Jags are 2-10.
Yeah.
So they're not doing anything postseason. And Trevor Lawrence already had a messed up shoulder, and he was just playing through it. So if I'm the Jags, I'm sitting him out the rest of the season. I'm going to go ahead and start aiming towards a return in 2025, try to get the team back together. He's definitely not coming back after that hit for next week, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he was almost pulling a Tua while he's on the ground with the twisted hand and stuff, man. It was a bad hit. So
I think call it. I think that's right. That's the right call. Just set him down, call it a season. I mean, for some reason they're terrible this year. We don't really know why. They were decent last year.
They're the Jags. That's why. And then finally, what we're going to talk about is the Detroit Lions.
11-1.
So the Detroit Lions, they're about to play their 4th game in an 18-day stretch.
I don't like that.
I mean, that's kind of wild. That's roughly 3 weeks, just under 3 weeks. 4th game. Now, here's where stuff like that starts to add up. The Lions, out of the 15 total defensive linemen and linebackers that they have, only 4 are healthy. 11 injuries just across the D tackles, the D ends, and the linebackers. So they're getting hurt defensively. Now, luckily, they are an offensive loaded team. Their offense is 2nd in the league with an average of 395 yards a game, and then they're tied for 1st with 47 touchdowns. Now, the Ravens lead them with 422 average yards, and then they're tied 47 touchdowns. So, and they don't have really any injuries offensively. So, to me, it almost sounds like every Lions game is going to start turning into a shootout. It's just whoever can score more points.
Yeah.
It's a tough position to be in, though, when you have only 4 people in that front 7 that they have. The 2 D tackles, 2 D ends, 3 linebackers. Only 4 of them are healthy. And mind you, I'm sure those 4 weren't even starters at the beginning of the year. I think Jack Campbell is still healthy, and he might have been a starter. But other than that, all the rest are backups, and even the backups are getting hurt. So how much of this do you think plays into the 4 games in 18 days, or just their schedule? Maybe it's just how they play. Like, what is it?
No, I think it's everything. Everything to do with the amount of time that they're playing. I mean, we all know that NFL players throw their body. I mean, it wears down your body. It doesn't matter how strong or how big you are. You get hit, and you get hit every single play, especially some of the defensive linemen, the linebackers. Holy cow. So I think it's got everything to do with playing that many games in that short amount of time. I mean, I understand the Lions and Cowboys, they play every Thanksgiving. They have since like 1966. I get it. So you have to work a bye around that time frame, I think. I understand, there's a Thursday night game or whatever, but why line it up that way? I mean, they can adjust that schedule to make it make more sense for the team to where they have time to recover. Because clearly this is showing that that's not working. And you don't want injuries to then distress a team that is doing so well. I mean, we've already talked about them potentially being a Super Bowl contender, but we simply do not want injuries to factor into that.
Yeah, I mean, I looked up the rest of the season here for the Detroit Lions. So they have the Packers next.
It's a tough game.
After the Packers, they go to Bills.
That's a tough
After
game.
the Bills, it's at the Bears. And then after the Bears to the 49ers. I mean, these are some pretty physical teams. And then their final game's against the Vikings.
That's a tough schedule. Let's see how they play out against them.
Yeah, a tough last little stretch they have. And it looks like 3 out of those 5 are home games. The Bears and the Niners are going to be the away games.
Helps a little bit, but still. So they don't have any buys left. Is that what that's showing?
Yeah, no buys. No.
Wow.
So it's going to be tough. I mean, the injuries are a problem. I would imagine at this point they're starting to freaking call in people off the street. Some practice squad players.
Call them up. He'll come out and play some linebacker for you.
I'm retired. I am not playing against no 230-pound backs. No, sir. But that's going to be a tough stretch for the Lions for sure. Now, can they hold on to that number 1 pole position in the NFC?
I hope so.
I mean, the Eagles are looking good right now. They're right there behind them, 10-2. Saquon is. I mean, we saw who won the rushing battle in that last game against the Ravens. So we'll have to see what's up with the Lions. You know, I have the best hopes for them. I think most of the nation wants to see a Super Bowl with the Steelers and the Lions.
I don't know about the Steelers.
I'm pretty sure it's the Steelers
they want to see the Lions there,
and the
but
Lions.
I don't know if they want the Steelers there.
Okay, maybe I give you the Bills. I would like to see the Bills get some success too, but
I don't really care about that.
Definitely over there though in the NFC, man. The Lions is a team everyone's rooting for. Dan Campbell is a dog. You know, he's one of the better coaches. So
and they just have been there for. Well, have they ever gone to the Super Bowl?
I don't remember.
I know they haven't won one.
I don't think they've ever won a Super Bowl. I don't think they've probably ever been to the Super Bowl.
It's crazy.
But yeah, wishing the best for you. All right, into our first segment.
Show them the money.
Oh,
no.
You're the show them the money.
I'm showing the money this time.
Let's do it again.
Okay. Show them the money.
Show them the door.
We screwed that up.
Go ahead and show them the money. Who is showing them the money to?
Show them the money seems obvious, but we're going to show it to the Michigan Wolverines. Mm-hmm. This is the 4th straight win over Ohio State. They were even close to being picked to win this game. I mean, not even close.
I think
the whole country and world was selecting them to lose.
I think they were like plus 27 underdogs too.
Yeah. So now you can equate that. I don't know if it's in our. Are we talking about that? Yeah, we are. So we'll talk about it more when we get there. But I think we gotta give them credit for making it. One, a competitive game, which was a concern for everybody, and then 2, to actually win the game and shake things up in the playoff bracket. I think that's congratulations to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's sad. I feel for all you Ohio State fans. You know, there is not a single player in that Ohio State locker room that has seen a victory over Michigan.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
That's wild. That's wild for them.
Now, we say show them the money. They actually lost money in that game, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay, show them the door. Now, this is a rough one.
Yep.
Yeah, we've kind of mentioned them already. The Philadelphia 76ers.
Wow.
They have started off the season 4-14, second worst behind only the 2-16 Wizards. Second worst in the East, okay? I just want to point these 3 players out.
This is very sad.
Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid. Let's listen to the contracts that they have on this 4-14 team.
Right.
Tyrese Maxey just signed a max extension, 4-year, $203 million. Paul George just signed a 4-year, $211 million. And then finally, Embiid, back in 2021, he had signed a 5-year, $147 million contract, but at the beginning of this season, he got a 3-year extension for $193 million. So he is going to be in Philadelphia until 2029. That is just, I mean, you're a 4-14 team.
So much money. So much money.
What do you do if you're a 76ers fan? I mean, you're tied into those 3 players for the next 5 years, pending someone wants to trade for him and take on that huge contract. But that's probably a majority of their salary cap.
Yep. It's
just those 3 players alone. And the best player on their team's one of your favorite players, right?
Yep.
A rookie, McCain.
Yep.
What are we doing over with the Philadelphia 76ers?
I think you call up Allen Iverson and see if he comes back for a 1 year, $1 million contract.
Oh man!
To get a little bit of class in that locker room. I think it's a locker room thing. I mean, honestly, I know Maxey has mentioned it about Embiid. We talked about that in a previous podcast, but still, what else could you equate it to? I mean, they're good players. Maxey's a great player. Paul George is hit and miss when he's healthy. Embiid he's a head case, but when he's on, he's on.
I mean, that's the MVP from, what year did he win? I think it was
a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And McCain's been playing well. I mean, we mentioned him. I don't know. I don't have the answer for him, but to hear that kind of money, Man, what I would do for
On
that kind of money.
4-14 record. Second worst in the East. I mean, I don't remember the last time the 76ers have been the bad team in the East.
It's been a long time.
That's the easy win. We're going to go there. Easy night for us.
Yep.
Let's get ready for the freaking Milwaukee Bucks or whoever else after. That's just embarrassing. So, yeah, show them the door to the entire Philadelphia 76ers squad. You guys need to pull it together. You need to live up to the legacy of the team that you play for.
Yeah.
That takes us into our next topic, NBA. All right? We'll go ahead and start off talking about the coaches of the month. So, obviously in the East, Coach Kenny Atkinson of the Cavs wins the Coach of the Month. Congratulations.
As he should.
He's led the Cavs to an 18-3 record.
What a story.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it.
They are the first in the East, okay? The rankings go as follows. First is the Cavs, second's the Celtics. We kind of expect that.
Yeah.
Orlando's at 3. The Knicks are at 4. And then 5th is the Bucks. In my opinion, those 5 right there kind of not
typical.
surprising.
Yeah.
The 6th, though, is the Hawks.
Yep.
Now, I just want to point out, the Atlanta Hawks, besides the Celtics, are the only team to beat the Cavs this season, and they beat them 2 games in a row. So, Hawks, good job. I mean, I didn't expect you to be there. Trae Young's been doing amazing. I believe he leads the league in assists. I think it's at like 12 assists a game, roughly. So, they're playing pretty well, but
Did you notice who wasn't in there?
Who?
The Pacers!
Yeah, kind of expected that. Yeah.
Disgusting.
The Cavs just in their last game beat the Celtics, so now they are 1-1 on the year.
Yep.
And they have 2 more matchups for the rest of the season. In my opinion, that's them jockeying for who's going to be first in the East.
I agree.
It's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to check those next 2 games out for sure. And then let's head over to the West. This, to me, is a shocker.
Yep. Hell, this to everybody, I think. I don't think anybody expected this.
So, the Coach of the Month over in the West is Ime Udoka for the Rockets.
Houston Rockets.
Now, I just want to give a little backstory here. You know, I like the Celtics. I would say I was a genuine Celtics fan when they didn't have their championship, and now it's kind of like, well, they're the best team. I want to see someone beat them. But Ime Udoka wins the Coach of the Month for the Rockets while they are second in the West.
Somebody's losing on outside. Sorry.
The ranking in the West is as follows. So we got the first Thunder. Obviously, the Thunder, in my opinion, this is their year out of the West.
Their year to lose.
Exactly.
They got to keep on it.
Second, we got Rockets.
Yep.
Okay. Third, we got Grizzlies.
That's great. I love that.
Grizzlies, you know, they hit some hardship last year, especially with all the crap going on with Ja Morant.
Yeah.
But they're back up there right now, third. Fourth is a familiar name, which I didn't really expect this, but the Warriors at fourth. Excuse me.
I think they started off a little slow, but they picked it up recently. But
yeah,
everybody's
Steph Curry,
sick.
man.
Everybody's sick of the Warriors. They can drop back down. Let's see some new teams up there.
Well, hey, I respect the veterans, you know, especially a veteran like Steph who's been with the same team his entire career, like Draymond. Same team, entire career.
Psycho Dre.
I like to see that after Klay Thompson left them for our 5th team in the West, the Mavericks, after he left them, they are still on top. And I'm also happy to see Klay Thompson doing well over with the Mavericks. Mavericks are going to be a tough team too. Right now I know they're only at 5th, but you know,
season.
They're going to be there when the playoffs come, and then it turns into Luka Magic.
Yep. And that's the thing about all these teams, even on the East side, is they need to maintain throughout the season. So if even the Rockets are starting off well, can they maintain well through the middle of the season, and can they end well? That was always, and not to bring up the Pacers again, but they always seemed to struggle at the end of the season. Yeah. So they always had a really good start or an average start, good middle, and then when they get to the end where the games really start mattering as far as you getting into the playoffs, your seeding, a lot of teams kind of seem to fall apart.
Now, the Pacers did good last year. They made a solid run into the playoffs.
Yep. But I hope the Rockets and Thunder, I hope they maintain. I hope they stay healthy. That's always the big question. Will their players stay healthy? But it's fun seeing them up there again because it's been a while.
Yeah. I mean, currently the Rockets are at 15-6, so this is their best start since 2017.
Yeah.
They outscore their opponents by 173 total points. That's the second highest in the league. And Houston is allowing the third fewest points in the NBA with 106 points per game and ranks second in field goal defense at 42%, third in three-point defense at 33%.
See, I like seeing that on the defensive side because Houston was never really known for a long time for their defense because they used to have James Harden, who played zero defense, but would score 40 a game, and so that's what they were known for. So it's nice seeing that their defense is pretty solid. I mean, it's like going back to their Hakeem Olajuwon days. Almost.
Yeah. My favorite stat that I saw out of the Houston Rockets is this next one here. They have 7 players averaging over 10 points a game, and Jalen Green and Sengun, which Jalen Green, I believe, is like 23, 24 years old.
Young.
Sengun is 22, 23 years old. They're leading the pack with 18.9 for Green points per game, and Sengun with 18.8 points per game. So, I mean, balanced attack. It almost sounds like how the Pacers were last year, where it was like you never know. Any given night, someone else can lead them in scoring, and the rest are still going to contribute for a win.
Yeah. To me, that's a testament to great coaching, and that's a testament to a team clicking well together.
Yeah.
So when you're able to trust your other teammates, regardless of who's out there on the court, I think it goes a long way, and you're seeing that with that team for sure.
Yeah. And, you know, it's kind of nice to see Ime Udoka up there leading the pack too, because like I said before, I was a Celtics fan, and I was a Celtics fan when he was the coach there.
Yeah.
Now, he got into some controversy, got into some scandal, ended up getting fired, had to move on from the Celtics, which led way to another great coach, which we'll talk about that some other time with the Celtics. But Ime was doing a good job. I mean, he was part of that building process to make the Celtics who they are today. So it's good to see him back on top. Our final topic with the NBA here, right? Recently, the NBA released a top 25 under 25 list.
So NBA or ESPN? I thought it was ESPN.
ESPN. So somebody released it.
ESPN.
And it listed out top 25 players that are under 25 years old. So what we did was put together our list of who we would have at a starting 5 of players who are under 25 years old.
As of right now.
So I'll go ahead and go first with my starting 5,
Go
which
ahead.
my starting 5 would beat your starting 5 any day. So number 1, obviously Luka Doncic. He's one of my favorite players. He's 24, so barely cracks the list. But Luka Doncic at point guard.
I feel like he's been in the league forever.
Yeah, I mean, he came in when he was 19. He was a pro already over wherever he's from. I think it's like Slovakia or something like that. He was a pro at 16, and he was dogging people over there. He won a championship already, leading the league. So
good for him.
He comes over here. He's still dominating. At number 2, at the shooting guard position, I got Anthony Edwards, who's a dog. I mean, he's only person really consistently getting compared to Michael Jordan. So that should say it all already.
He's not. He won't ever come close, but that's fine. Keep going.
We'll have to see. He's still young. Number 3, I got Paolo Banchero. So I know he typically plays a 4, but I think he has the ball handling ability. I think he has the on-ball defense to go ahead and play a 3. Because at the number 4 spot, I just had to have this player, Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley, I think he's 23 years old, plays for the Cavs, who are obviously on top right now. He is a defensive nightmare. He can guard paint. He can guard 1 through 5 on the perimeter. He blocks shots. He gets rebounds. He can score. He can pass. He can shoot. I mean, he can do everything. He's 6'11". So he's just like my number 5, which obviously has to be Victor Wembanyama, where they are just unicorns. They can do everything. They are freaks with their size. And, I mean, what more is there to say about Victor Wembanyama? He's a nightmare. You know, you see it consistently on his highlight reels. People getting into the paint and just passing it out because he's around them.
And I think he's playing better this year than he did last year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's already improving, which is crazy to think about. So yeah, that's a good starting five. I changed it up a little bit. My number one would be LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
I know he's having a phenomenal year this year. This is probably his best year so far as getting started. I'm love Jerry McCain. You already know this. I talk about him all the time. He's so fun to watch. He's a young player. He's smart. And I think he's going to continue to add to that team. And hopefully he doesn't get discouraged by what he's experiencing now, because this is his first year in it. But, it's everybody's going to, they're not going into the best teams. I think that's why they always get selected sometimes. Yeah. Anthony Edwards, you already talked about him. He'd be at my number 3. Banchero would be at my 4. And then I had Wembanyama as well at my number 5. But the fact that we're seeing some good, solid young players that are contributing already to their teams, and if they last as long as some NBA players are now, I mean, we're going to see them for a long time. So hopefully, like we're watching with Wembanyama, we're going to see them to continue to progress and get better as basketball players. Again, I say it every time, as long as they can stay healthy, I think we'll see that.
I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction, man. I think Wembanyama is going to lead the Spurs to the playoffs within his first 4 years. So this is his second year. Maybe it'll take a couple more years. Okay, I give it just a couple more years. He's going to not only lead them to the playoffs, he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and he's going to be at least in the race for MVP. That is how generational of a talent Wembanyama is. I'm excited to see what he turns into.
Yep, they're just going to need to give him some help if he's going to want to go a playoff run. Because right now it's like he's...
Yeah, he has Chris Paul. He has Chris Paul right now teaching the youngsters. They're a young team. They got Castle, who's a rookie over there. They're going to learn. They're going to be right there for sure.
All right, let's get into our second segment, our high school spotlight. So just a quick update. Congratulations to the Brownsburg Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Beat Westfield 22-17. Sounds like it was a great game. That was a Friday after Thanksgiving, so congratulations to them. And I had to put it on here because we mentioned it. But the 1A state championship, Providence beat North Judson St. Pierre 35-20. They played on Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Don't know why that's funny, but it is.
Congrats.
But congratulations to those teams and the other 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A teams who did win. I didn't even look, but always a great spotlight. We're going to talk about something else next week because football is over.
Basketball's coming up.
Yep.
But yeah, congrats to the Brownsburg Bulldogs. I believe they haven't won a state championship since what, like the 80s?
I think it's been a while. Yeah.
I think it was like 1980s, like 84 or something like that. So this is huge for them in rebuilding their program. Good job.
All right, let's get into our last piece. This is NCAA football. We got to start off with the one that really shook up the nation for several different reasons, and that is when Michigan beat number 2 Ohio State 13-10. So I did watch. You watched it. We watched the entire game. I mean, the strangest parts about the whole thing is I looked up, they had almost the exact same amount of plays, almost the exact same amount of yards, close to the same earned time where they like time of possession. Michigan was a little bit more, but Michigan had 100 more yards on rushing, and probably the one stat that really stuck out, Ohio State kicker, he was 1 for 3.
Yeah.
If he would have made both of those, they would have won that game. And they weren't that hard at kicks. The only thing I can attest to this is this. Michigan's defense, for whatever reason, stepped up enormously in that game. They stopped him. Like, they stopped him consistently. But it was also Ohio State offense did not play Ohio State offense. I mean, so I think it was a little bit of both. But, I mean, it was interesting to watch Ohio State's offense really just kind of fall apart. They just weren't getting anywhere. The amount of yards that both teams had were under 300 yards.
I mean, what really stands out to me is, like, that was at Ohio State Stadium. Ohio State is number 2 in the nation, at the time. And Michigan has been having an awful season by their standards, barely breaking even. How does it seem as if, like, all of these factors that come into play didn't rattle Michigan one bit when it comes to defense? Why does it seem like Ohio State was the one who felt all of the pressure on their shoulders for this big game? I mean, I know these are, 18 to like 22-year-olds, but that's the type of game where you would expect the momentum, the home stadium, just the bigness of the moment to sink in on a team like Michigan. And it really didn't seem to happen. That was a rough and rugged defensive game pretty much all the way until the end. I mean,
and people always use that analogy of where teams will go in expecting a team to be worse than what they are, and so they just kind of shrug it off. I don't know if there's truth to that. I don't really see that with being an Ohio State team. They walk in and say, "Well, Michigan's 6-5, we'll be fine." I think they knew it was going to be a tough game, but
I mean, it's the game.
And they have, that's one, too, where if you want to make it, I don't know what this is going to do. You don't know exactly how this is going to affect the playoff bracket. You assume that they're going to stay in, but now they're not playing for the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
So Oregon and Penn State are going to be playing now because of that loss. And I think Ohio State deserved another shot at Oregon. I really do, because they almost had them the first time. And I would have loved, nothing against Penn State, but I would have loved to seen an Ohio State-Oregon Big Ten championship. I really would have. I think it would have been a fun game to watch, but I don't know. I can't say necessarily what's going to happen, but you think probably they're going to get in. I think we'll know Sunday.
Yeah,
what the bracket's going to look like.
I looked up a projected thing for it, and it says they're still in. It now moves them to the 8th spot, so they're at like the 6th seed total. And they would be taking on Tennessee now, which means Georgia bumps down to take on IU.
Yeah, but that all depends on what happens in the
championships. Yep. But that's if it were to end today.
Yep.
And somehow SMU has one of the bye weeks, and Boise State has one of the bye weeks.
I know. You went off on that last week.
That's just crazy. That's crazy to me.
But... Yeah. You want to talk about what happened at the end of the game?
Well, you know what? Let's leave that for the third topic. That was entertaining.
One thing I will say is, even though Michigan did beat Ohio State, Michigan did fire their offensive coordinator today.
Yeah.
So 3 days after the big win, they let the offensive coordinator go. There must have been something that wasn't meshing well.
I'm sure that was like a season-long type of thing. It's probably one of those things where... they knew that he was going to get fired at the end of the season just because of the performance of the entire season. So,
yep, I think kudos to them for doing it, because you would think after a big win that might put some pressure on them to keep him. Yeah. But if it's a season-long thing, not a one-game thing. I mean, honestly, and they only scored 13, so it's not like they're racking up the points.
The offense was not good.
Yeah. Second point, we just kind of mentioned what's going on with the bracket. I at least wanted to talk about the championship games. With Ohio State losing and then Miami lost as well, that shakes up that entire playoff bracket. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but it did affect those championship games. So, coming up this weekend, we got the Mountain West Championship, UNLV versus Boise State.
Boise State already beat UNLV earlier this season, so... This is a rematch for UNLV. We'll see if they can do something to Boise State's spot in the bracket.
Exactly. That'll change things. American Athletic Championship, you got 17 Tulane at Army. Army's not ranked because of that loss against Notre Dame, but they're still up there. And I don't think they're going to find themselves in a playoff position, even if they win this. But
yeah.
Big 12 Championship, you got number 18 Iowa State at number 16 Arizona State.
I'm hoping for an upset here. I don't like seeing Arizona State in the bracket. I need them to take an L.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who wins that, where they land, and if they even get in. I mean, there's still a question if they do. I don't know how all this works, but Georgia's still in that conversation, even if they happen to, which is the next one. Number 7 Georgia at number 3 Texas.
Yeah.
Tough game. If Georgia loses, does that throw them out of the bracket? Some are arguing, nope, they're good enough to stay in.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be tough. They're already are talking about a lot of these SEC teams with 3 losses. Maybe potentially one of them can still get in the bracket.
Sure.
If Georgia loses to Texas, which Texas has only lost once this year. maybe they could be the team that still gets in with a 3-loss record.
Right. And what happens if Georgia beats Texas? Texas obviously is number 3, so they would still stay in the playoff, I'm sure, but where does that adjust everybody? Everybody's going to be moving all over the place.
Yeah, somebody's going to move up to that bye week spot for sure.
We already said Big Ten championships, number 4 Penn State and number 1 Oregon. Again, I would have loved to see Ohio State there because I think it would have been a better game, but maybe Penn State will surprise us. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of their games this year, but it's at Lucas Oil, so no one really has the advantage. Maybe Penn State will probably travel a little bit better than Oregon just because it's not as far, but we'll see.
I think Oregon, man, they're like last year's Georgia. I don't think there's any topping them.
Yep. And then the last one, which will be an interesting game, ACC Championship. We got number 12 Clemson at number 9 SMU.
That's the game to watch.
If Clemson can pull this off, that will really affect the bracket.
Yep.
And I don't know what will happen to SMU. That might throw them out, honestly.
Yep. We'll have to see. Maybe it can give a bump to Clemson. Maybe Clemson can have a shot at getting in it.
Yep. So, and like we said, after all these championships, ESPN will be hosting it, but it'll be Sunday night that they'll announce the official brackets, and then I'm assuming the games start the following weekend, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Because they're going to have to work it up towards the championship, which will be in January.
I just hope that whatever way that this bracket shakes up, I'm rooting for IU, and I would hate to see IU going up against Georgia first round. That's a really tough matchup early on.
But I don't know who do you give them, or it won't be a tough round.
Out of the matchups that are in here, like SMU right now currently has the bye week. I would rather see IU take on SMU. I would rather see IU take on a Boise State, maybe even an Arizona State. Really just stay away from the SEC teams.
Yeah.
Don't face on any of them. I probably don't want to see them take on a Penn State or an Oregon, which if Oregon, even if they lose, they're probably still going to have the bye week.
Yeah.
But really just any team that's not an SEC team, maybe even Notre Dame. I would probably rather take Notre Dame than a Georgia or a Tennessee or, like I said, Texas. That'd be rough.
Or they walk in and play really well and, shock the world and beat an SEC team. It's not like it couldn't happen because they've had some good games this year and they didn't play well against Ohio State at all. So what would happen if they did play well and played like their normal self? So could happen.
Yeah, maybe they get a Ohio State rematch in the first round.
Could.
We'll have to see. But let's get into the last topic for NCAA. Now, this was rivalry week, and you could feel it was rivalry week.
Yes, you could.
There was flag planting fights all over the place, okay? So the one I think most of the nation watched, Michigan and Ohio State. Michigan player goes to plant their flag in the O, and Ohio State was not having that. Ended up ripping the flag out of his hand. They freaking were just pushing and shoving at the middle of the field. Police came out. Pepper spray was sprayed. Now, I think I saw a thing where the police were saying that there was some people who fell on the ground who weren't players wearing pads and stuff. So they began pepper spraying people so that they wouldn't get trampled on. So, listen.
That's insane to me. I go ahead.
It's a crowd, and you only have so many.
A crowd of players.
Yeah, a crowd of players, obviously, but you don't want someone getting hurt who's not in pads. And if you look at the crowd, if you were watching it, even with some of the cops, there was some 5'3", 5'4" females out there. And these are big 6'3", 6'4", 300-pound linemen pushing and shoving each other. If just one of those players steps on an arm, it snaps like a twig. So if I'm some 60-year-old cop who's just there on a security gig and you're getting shoved with these 300-pound linemen, I'm probably going to pull out the taser gun and start just tagging everybody around me. Just back up. Pepper spray there. I saw a lot of the Michigan players rushing to the sideline, pepper spray on their eyes, watering it out and stuff. They're not going to die, but it was chaotic. It was chaotic at the end of that game.
I'll make my point towards the end. Let's talk about the rest of them.
So the other games where we had flag planting fights specifically. NC State and North Carolina. NC State beat them, tried to plant their flag once again. Flag gets snatched, ran off the field, players shoving, pushing each other, got pretty violent. Florida versus Florida State. Also flag planting, also very violent, pushing and shoving post game. And then Arizona State and Arizona, which Arizona State beat them, which I forgot to say Florida beat Florida State, obviously, too. But Arizona State beat Arizona. Flag planting, gets vicious, gets pretty violent at the end. Here's some honorable mentions just for rivalry week fights, okay? BYU beat Utah, and so like with about 2 minutes and some change left, BYU scores again, which Utah didn't like, so they get to shoving each other in the end zone. Gets pretty aggressive. Notre Dame beat USC, and there was a play specifically where a Notre Dame offensive lineman shoved an SC player to the ground and ended up
punching him, right?
Blasting him in his helmet. Just shoves him in the ground. It was kind of like a pancake block, I'd guess. And then it just boop right in his face.
Caught right on the camera. I mean, I watched it live when it happened. I'm like, oh, I don't think you can do that. I think you just punch people.
There was no penalty called. No penalty. It's just rivalry week. It's normal. Alabama beat Auburn. Now, there was a wide receiver and a cornerback who were scuffling up against each other at the end of the game, and it got shoved into the sideline, and then crowds of players come over, try to break it up. And then finally, which was probably my favorite one of all of rivalry week, the Arizona State versus Arizona mascots. They were duking it out. They were throwing haymakers at each other. I mean, the helmet thing that they were wearing, I guess, got twisted sideways. And, right after that play, I believe, Arizona State threw it in for a touchdown, right after the fight got broke up.
Wow.
So, I mean, great rivalry week. I absolutely love the intensity. College football's back. I love that. I know everyone that you saw on ESPN and all the sports channels are like, oh, this is a disgrace to football. It was a great game until after the game where they just showed all these classless acts. Like, no, this is what the fans want, all right? If we could treat this like hockey and just go ahead and let them duke it out for a little bit, give them some penalty minutes afterward, I'd be completely fine with that. That's just where I stand, though. I like the aggressive nature. They're wearing pads. No one's going to get hurt. No one's going to get hurt if you slap the helmet a few times. Go for it.
Well, I like competitiveness. I'm okay with some pushing and shoving and getting in people's faces. But I will tell you, if I was on a team that just lost and you're trying to plant a flag in the middle of my logo, I might get one of the gators and try to run you over. Because that's so disrespectful. Here's my thing. Stop with this flag planting thing. Like, if you want to get in somebody's face or you want to jaw a little bit, I understand. I'm okay with that kind of stuff. But that, is just going to make everybody upset.
That's why they do it.
Obviously. And you're trying to be disrespectful to the team.
Yep.
And I'm not a fan. I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't think it's... I don't know. I don't like rubbing things in people's faces when they've lost, especially when it's a hard-fought match. I mean, you're playing against your rival team, and I know you hate each other, and that makes sense. And I support that. I'm fine with having rivalries because I think it's awesome. Rivalries, they're good, but I don't like people being disrespectful. I'm in the mode of respectfulness in all categories as much as you can. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with being a little chimey and talking some trash. I'm okay with that kind of stuff because that's part of the game. I mean, Jordan did it, Reggie Miller did it. Like, lots of players do it. Tom Brady did it. Everybody does it. But, again, at the end of the game, you still see those players shake up with their opposite, the person they were just talking trash to.
Sometimes. The bad boy Pistons didn't.
Well... Yeah, that's true.
And here's my thing. You know, I 100% agree with you. And that's me putting on my coach's hat. Like, from a coach perspective, from an adult perspective, absolutely. From an entertainment perspective, I do enjoy being entertained. And them planting the flags on the field, the thing is, in my opinion, if you don't want their flag being planted on your field, win the game. You know, that should be all the extra motivation you need for that next go-around. And when you're talking college sports, like I said before, you're talking 18 to 22-year-olds. I mean, these are kids fresh out of high school. They're still immature. You know, I almost expect this. Now, if they had some respect about them, if they did go up, shake the hands of their opponents, take their losses like men, treat their wins like men, you know, that's, to me, that's an outstanding young man, and that's a great representation of their coaching staff.
Young man. You sound like an old fart over here.
I am old, man. I don't know what to tell you. But I take the perspective of a fresh 18, 19, 20-year-old in college. You're hyped, and especially a game like Michigan, where you've lost to Michigan 4 years in a row. You have seniors on that staff who that entire week up to it. I mean, you see all the propaganda and stuff that they put up with that. Like, they X out all the M's and every... Like, this is rivalry week. They do not like Michigan. Right. And Michigan does not like Ohio State. And so if you're going up against that opponent of whom you have no respect for, why are you going to show respect in the end? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I get it.
That's the entertainment perspective. As a coach, yes, you know, lose with dignity, win with respect, win with class.
Yep. So, to me, it's why not get some lighter fluid and light the emblem on fire? I mean, it's the same idea. That's about the same concept.
That's not the same. That's taking a little far.
Now, here's a question. Those people that got into the skirmish, should they be suspended for a game?
Well, I mean, those people who got into the skirmish was like 60% of each team.
Right. So you basically have to cancel the game. There's people that are calling for that, but I don't know how you do that effectively and not affect the game. I mean, like you said, it's a rivalry. I think both Michigan and Ohio State, I don't know about the other teams, but Michigan and Ohio State were fined by Big Ten $100,000 apiece.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean,
that's
what the punishment's just like. I mean, the teams themselves are making all the money in these scenarios. I know they have the new ways of paying players and stuff, but they're making all the money. Ultimately, if your coaching staff is teaching its players, coaching its players to behave in a manner like this, I'm not saying they are on purpose to do that, but obviously you're leaving out the respect part when you're coaching these boys, otherwise they wouldn't have done it. Then your program as a whole should be the one to pay the penalty, pay the fine, and you as a head coach should be the one perhaps to go back, look at the film, see who started it, and give them the punishment yourself.
Sure. I get it.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get into our game picks. So we have a slate of some solid games, especially when it comes to NCAA coming up. So first up, we got number 7 Georgia at 10-2, plus 124 odds, going in to take on number 3 Texas at Texas's house, who is 11-1 at minus 148 odds.
Yep.
Who you got?
So, to be honest with you, out of all the games this weekend, that's probably the most intriguing to me, because you know Georgia's coming in knowing they have to win this game. Like, in their mind, if they think they're going to make a run in the playoffs or even be able to get into the bracket, regardless if there's a chance and all this stuff, they're not even thinking that. This is a must-win for them, so I think it's going to be an incredibly close game. But I think, man, that's a tough one. That's probably the toughest one. But I'm going to say Texas pulls it off.
Going with Texas, the home team here, huh? I mean, it is a tough one. It's a really tough one. I think I'm going to have to go with Texas, too. I mean,
I think their
quarterback, Ewers, he's great. Their entire squad is just built from head to toe. And Georgia, I mean, they've shown glimpses of being humans this season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Texas too. All right, next up we got number 4 Penn State at 11-1 at plus 145 odds to go in or face Oregon. I guess it's being played at Lucas Oil.
Yep.
At 12-0 minus 175 odds. So who we got? Number 1 Oregon or number 4 Penn State here?
Unfortunately, I don't think Penn State has a chance, to be honest with you. I mean, Oregon's probably going to... It might be close in the first half, but I think Oregon will run away with it. I'm going to say 24-14, win by 10.
You know, I'm also going to take Oregon here. I think that Oregon's going to put up more points than that. If I were to guess a score, I'd probably go like 35 to like 14, 17, something like that.
Yep.
And then next up, final one for our NCAA picks. Number 12, Clemson, who's at 9-3 right now, is going to take on number 9, SMU. Clemson is a plus 114 odds. SMU, who's 11-1, is at minus 135 odds. Who you got?
I'm going Clemson.
Clemson.
I think they're kind of in the same position as Georgia, to where they feel like if they got to win this game to even have a thought to get into the bracket. I gotta be honest with you, I haven't seen much of SMU, but from what we've looked, have they been playing any tough teams? I don't know. I don't even know their schedule, who they're going after, but
I mean, they're in the ACC, so
yeah, so they probably have some decent teams they got to face. But I'm still going for the upset, Clemson Tigers.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen much of either of these teams all year, but to me, Clemson has just shown that, you know, just like Georgia, they've shown that they're human this season. They've had bad plays, they've had inconsistencies, and as far as I'm concerned, SMU hasn't. That's why they're doing so good as far as the bracket's concerned. So I'm going to go SMU here. I think SMU is going to handle business and do what they need to do to stay in there.
Let me just read off their schedule, okay? So they beat Nevada. They beat HCU. I don't know who that is. They lost to BYU. They beat TCU. They beat Florida State, which everybody else has too. They beat Louisville. Okay, so that's decent. Beat Stanford, beat Duke, beat Pittsburgh, beat Boston College, beat Virginia, and then they just beat California.
Wow, so it sounds like they really haven't played.
So they played one ranked team all season, and that was BYU, and they lost to them.
We've seen this before, haven't we?
We have. So,
I'm still going SMU, baby. I'm sticking with my guns here. I think they're going to get Clemson.
Okay. I mean, they'll have to do it to prove themselves, I think, because right now it doesn't look... They've played some decent teams. I mean, Louisville was ranked at 1 point. Duke's a decent team. Stanford, not great. Pittsburgh was a decent team. But, yeah, BYU is their only loss, and that's to the only ranked team they played.
Well, let's go SMU. I mean, I kind of hope you lose because I don't want to see you in the bracket. But at the same time, I think you're going to win.
Let's go to NBA next. Tomorrow night, Wednesday. Pacers at the Nets. Pacers are 9-12. Good grief. At the Nets, 9-13. So they probably should be a well matched up team. What do you think?
I think I'm done going with the Pacers. I think they've let me down one too many times already. It's at Nets. I'm going Nets.
I'm going Pacers.
Oh.
I know. I got to keep cheering them on. But maybe we need to stop putting them in here. We're jinxing them every time because they seem to lose every time we put them in here. But, yeah. Okay, so you got Nets, I got Pacers. Thursday night, a great game, hopefully. We got the Nuggets, who are 10-8. Again, rough start, but they picked it up. At the Cavs, 18-3. So, and it's at Cleveland. So, What do you think?
I think that the Cavs' interior defense is going to do a great job matching up against Jokic, which if you can stop Jokic with the Nuggets, you can stop pretty much their entire offense. So Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, they're going to do a great job. They're going to match up well. I'm taking the Cavs.
I look forward to watching this game. I plan on watching it because I think it's going to be a good game, but I'm going to do the same. I think the Cavs are going to pull this off and continue to show that they're a team to be messed with right now. And then Saturday, another great game. This one, I'll definitely watch this one. You got the Grizzlies 14-7 at the Celtics 17-4.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Celtics obviously have been doing good. They're the favorites. Grizzlies have been doing better than people expect. But I think Celtics are going to handle business once again. I think Celtics are going to get them. It's a home game. In my opinion, that makes a difference. If this was at Grizzlies, I probably would go Grizzlies here, but I'm going Celtics.
I was going to say the exact same thing. If it wasn't at Boston, then I probably would have gone with the Grizzlies. But like I said, with the Nuggets and Cavaliers, I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be close, come down to the wire. But I think the Celtics will hold on.
I do also just want to say, with the Grizzlies, they're pretty guard-heavy with Ja Morant and Desmond Bane.
Yeah.
And as we've seen, the Celtics' defensive guards, Drew Holiday, Derek White.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're going to lock them up. So, yeah. Okay, let's get into the NFL now. It's about that time of year, man. These games are more and more important. Thursday night football.
Great game.
We got the Packers, 9-3, at plus 142 odds at Lions. 11-1 at minus 170 odds. So you got?
Packers have been playing phenomenal football here recently, and Lions, we've already talked about some of their issues on the injury side, but I like the fact that it's in Detroit, so I'm gonna go with the Lions.
Still.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't go against Dan Campbell. I mean, like I said, he's a dog of a coach. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Lions too. I'm sticking to the big guns over there in the NFC. Okay, next up on Sunday, we got the Chargers, who are 8-4. They're plus 164 going to the Chiefs, who are 11-1 at minus 198 odds. Who you got?
I'm actually going to pick the Chargers.
Ooh.
I think the Chiefs have, like I've said it every week, they've just been playing with fire. I think they're messing around a little too much. They're not playing their same offense like they used to, where they were dominating. And the Chargers have been playing good football. They had a fairly good game against the Ravens the other night. I think that was 2 weeks ago. And I think they go into
Arrowhead,
and shock them.
I mean, this is definitely a tough one. You know, the favorites, I mean, like we've said already, the Chiefs have been winning just by small margins. And you got Harbaugh on the other sideline. With that being said, I am still going to go with the Chiefs here. I think that beating the Chiefs in Arrowhead is a tall task. And
I agree.
You know, we can criticize them for winning by small amounts, but also what that says is that they know how to just barely win.
Yep.
They know how to win.
Win to win. Doesn't matter if it's by 50 or by 3. I understand that. And also, I mean, you have to factor in the weather a little bit too. I mean,
oh, yeah. It ain't going to be no sunny rainbows.
Yeah. Sunny rainbows. Yeah.
All right, and then finally we got Monday Night Football. The Bengals. The Bengals are going at the Cowboys. So Bengals are 4-8. They are favorites, minus 238 odds to go to the Cowboys, who are 5-7 at plus 195 odds. Who you got?
I think the Bengals 4-8 is a very misleading record. There have been lots of games they've been in. There's lots of games they should have won. So they should be doing a lot better than 4-8, I can tell you that. But I have no faith in the Cowboys whatsoever. Prescott, I think, is still out, isn't he?
I believe so, yeah.
Yep, so he's probably not going to be in. I'm going to go with the line. I'm going with Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, Cowboys, where they've struggled. I mean, they've really struggled everywhere since Dak Prescott's been gone. But especially where they've struggled is their defensive run game. And I think that the Bengals, although they're not primarily a running team, they are primarily a passing team. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I mean, they've been having a phenomenal year, even though they've been losing. So I'm going to go Bengals, too. I don't like rooting for the Bengals. You know, I hope the Cowboys beat them. But
You don't have to root for them. You're just picking them to win.
Yeah, I think they're going to get them. Well, all right. That's all we have for this episode. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give us a like. Go ahead and comment what you thought about any of the topics we talked about. Go ahead and share this with anyone who's interested in sports. I'm sure they'll enjoy it. And then finally, please give us a sub on YouTube. Every sub goes a long way. Our channel is growing, and we really appreciate everyone who's already subbed. But we know a majority of you who watch this are not subbed. So please go ahead and subscribe to catch more content in the future. That's all for today. Say peace out, Isaac.
Peace out.